So I just got done making my GMTK Game Jam 2025 submission, and here it is. The game is Practice Makes Perfect, and it's a rhythm platformer game. I'm just going to show the first little bit here. So we've got this drum section where we're kind of like doing a Guitar Hero or a DDR, and if we pass that, we move on to the guitar player, and the guitar player is a platformer sort of Bit Trip Runner-esque design. So here we're trying to grab these coins which represent notes, and the game is built around the theme of loop. So we're just going to be playing a musical loop and a game loop and going through over and over until we get it right. And once we get it right, we go on to a slightly harder version of the guitar where we add more notes. So there are, as you can see in the top corner, there are 3 guitar sections, and each one just adds additional notes. So I'll just play the third one here. The last thing we need to do is this slide action to grab the note below the ground. There we go. So the theme of the jam was loop, and that immediately got me thinking about musical loops, because I have been doing a lot of music side of game development lately and really enjoying it. So that's why I wanted to create a music-focused game. What I wanted to show here is the way that I put these levels together was actually with a music editor, sort of unsurprisingly, but I think it's kind of cool that basically the level editor that I used to build this game was Reaper, my music composition tool. So I just wanted to go through a bit of that process of how I compose the music. This is the second level for the game. The finished track sounds like this in the DAW. So that's it's sort of a designed track of music. And then the process is, how do we break that down into a game level in this rhythm game? So to start off with, I very carefully arranged the tracks down the side. And you can see that the A, that's for automatic, and P is for player. So all of the A tracks, which is basically just this top and bottom track, they play by themselves, so that these are just piece of music that I export. So this is just the underlying bass track. So, and so on. So this track is exported as just an OGG file, and we just play that underneath during the gameplay. So you can see that in the, we just load that into the game. And what's kind of cool about this is normally in a game you have your music is just playing in the background while your game is running as time advances. But in this game, the music actually controls everything. I'm sure this is standard for rhythm games, but I've never built a rhythm game before. So in this case, we have the music player object here, which is an audio stream player. And that actually, as it plays, the game, every frame, the game reads the music player's position, where it's up to in the song, and uses that to set the X coordinate of all the objects in the game, the player, the camera, and so on. So everything's synchronized to the music. So back to Reaper, then we add in the extra tracks, and I just go through one track at a time and introduce them. So here we introduce the drums. And then we introduce the guitar. So to begin with is the selection of the notes. So the guitar track in the game has 5 notes that you can play, and I wanted to make those notes something that I could make a lot of different musical ideas from. So I decided to have just standard C, E, G, major triad, and then adding a 7th, so you kind of get this, and then finally a high C, so that you get like you can do a C on both octaves. So that's like a nice selection of 5 notes, a dominant 7th chord, and it lets you do the fact that you've got that 7th note allows you to add a little bit of extra musical flavor to your standard major chord. So that's why I chose those 5 notes. And then I just had to make sure that all the notes in the guitar section are only allowed to use those 5 notes. I would begin by having all of these on the same track like this. So the guitar section would play out as follows. Right, so I have basically designed this music, and what's kind of interesting is that I'm thinking about it musically. I'm thinking about what would be an interesting chord progression or an interesting notes that fit into the underlying structure of the music, but I'm also thinking about it in a level design context, right? So here are all the notes. Like this is, as an example, I specifically wanted to make one of those, in a platform game, you have a whole lot of coins that you need to collect in a parabola, and you just go jump and you collect them all in one go. So here I was basically designing that as a piece of music, and you can see that parabola here. So it plays like this. I remember I had an extra note here, but when I play tested it, I just couldn't grab that note and also go into the jump, and I tried several times, so I deleted that note. So it's an iterative process going back and forth between the music editor, bringing it into the game and seeing can you actually beat this section. So another section over here requires the player to do this horizontal air slide, and that was designed to be like, okay, you're gonna jump, slide through the air, and then fall down for that last note. So that was, again, I'm always thinking about what are the, how is the music going to sound, but also how is the player going to jump and slide their way through this level. It's a very interesting level design process, I think. And here is how it gets into the game. The first thing that I have to do specifically with this guitar section is split them out. So I've already kind of done that here, but just to show, like this would be, I would have to be selecting the individual notes. The first time you play through this section, you just have to jump and grab one note at the top. And the second time around, we have 1 and 2 layers. So you have to jump and grab, and then also you have to ground slide to grab that last, the final note. And then in the third challenge, you need to do the whole parabola perfectly and do the ground slide. So that's how we layer the additional difficulty levels as you progress through the game. And that's all done in the music editor as well. And then we introduce the violin layer on top, which is usually just really long notes for the player to slide over and have some nice long holds. And the last layer is this flourish effect at the end, which is just for when you actually have completed all the loops, you get a final playthrough and you hear a little bit of extra music on top. So these 2 sections here, I just exported as regular music files. So that's pretty straightforward. These ones take a bit more work. First of all, we need to make sure we're only exporting the playable part, not this ending section. And what we're going to do is export as MIDI. So normally I export it straight into an audio file, but here we're exporting it as MIDI file. And then so once we have that MIDI file, which contains all of the note data and basically all of this data that you see here organized into a file, then I have a little Python script that I wrote during the jam that basically reads the MIDI file, extracts all the notes, and converts it into a Godot scene where it places an object in the scene for each note. Luckily, I've been working with Python MIDI for other projects, so I have like a bit of a starter framework for parsing MIDI out of a file in Python. So I was able to just cobble together a Godot scene exporter. So then we have in the Godot engine, you can see that it's laid out all of those notes horizontally based on the time. You can see those guitar notes have the correct note has been chosen based on the MIDI note data. The drum kicks here, the violins are all set up as a level. And then how do we actually play the level? Well, then we have this separate level file here which lets us create the traditional level structure, the platforms and so on. So this is basically an empty level template, and what we can do is just bring the MIDI file in, or I mean the Godot scene containing the note data in here, and then we can start to draw on the tiles. So we can come over here and go like, okay, these don't need a lot of platforming, but some of the high notes you need to, like up here, for example, we need to just draw how do you draw? We need to have a platform up here for the player to stand on while they run along, and we need to have some steps that you go up. So we can kind of create the platform structure required to jump up and down the notes, and then the actual composition process is going back and forth between the MIDI and the game and just kind of tweaking things until it becomes actually playable. And then this is what it actually plays like once we open it up in the game. And then into the guitar section. I'm just going to skip ahead to the third challenge. So close. One more try. So that's Practice Makes Perfect. I had a really great time making it. I'm glad I got to explore the musical side. Wish that I had some time to do a bit more artwork, but using Kenny's art and bringing that together, adding little guitar and violins into the hands of those little bunnies, I think it looks really, really nice. If you want to play the game, it's available now on itch.io. I'll post a link in the description. It's just a little game jam game. It's only got 2 levels, but if you're interested, please do check it out. Maybe I'll come back and explore this concept at a future time. But right now I've been working on something new, which I'm hoping to show you on this channel very soon. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.